Okay, we are going to see the reading section now. The reading section is actually the section in which you're going to spend most of your time studying because you have to learn a lot of question types and a lot of strategy, but it's also the easiest to improve. So if you feel you're having specific problems in the reading section, maybe just because you're not assessing it in the right way. Okay, so basic principles of the reading section. The first one is that only the information in the text exists. Okay, this is very important because all the texts are college level, or they are taken from college level textbooks. So they will be on biology, on business, on anthropology, literature, etc. So let's say there's a biology text about a specific topic that you did your thesis on, right? So you will be tempted to bring the outside information to the text, which means you do have more information. You have extra information. Maybe you have information that contradicts the information in the text. You have to not bring the outside information. Okay, whatever you do not bring the outside information, which means if you find something in a text that contradicts something that you know for a fact in real life, you leave that outside and you treat the text as the only truth. Okay, so 1 and 2, the principle 1 and principle 2 go together. So only the information in the text exists, and you do not bring outside information to the text. Number 3 is actually also stems from number 1, which is if the text says it is so. If you notice, all those 3 principles are basically the same. This is why I put principle or principles, because they're all derived from the fact that the only thing you have to take into account is the text. So whatever the passage says, whatever the text says, that is. Okay. What you want to do when you solve the reading section, you want to be specific. This is very important. Actually, you want to be specific through all the TOEFL. Means both the TOEFL and you are going to try to be as specific as you can. The TOEFL is going to use specific words, and you're going to look for those specific words. And when you perform in the speaking and the writing sections, if they ask you for something specific, you give them that specific. We're going to see how this applies to each individual section, but remember, be specific. The second thing, you want to find keywords. So you definitely don't want to spend a lot of time trying to find all the words, right? There are a lot of words that are common words, like prepositions, these, that, to, on, in, at. There are pronouns and adjectives like these, that, he, her, etc. Those are not common words. Those are common words. We're going to focus on the keywords that are going to let us know what we're looking for. You do want to get the meaning from context, which means if you don't know the meaning of a word or a phrase, you don't have to worry about it. You can get the meaning from the context. And you want to read the question first. This is part of the strategy, so you definitely don't want to read the full text first and then go question by question. What you want to do is read the question first and then see how you can answer the question from the specific part of the passage. And you definitely want to eliminate wrong answers. Again, we'll be covering that as well in this video. We'll be covering how to eliminate the wrong answers. Okay. Things you don't want to do in the reading section, you don't want to try to understand everything, okay? This is very important. We do not need to understand everything. We barely need to understand the most important features of every text, okay? So, just along with not trying to understand everything, we are not going to stop, okay, if we don't understand something. Let's say we're reading and we reach a word that we don't know what it means. We're not going to stop to consider. We're not going to waste time considering what the possible meaning of this word is. We're going to move on and we're going to try to understand the whole meaning of the passage or the whole meaning of the sentence or sentences without having to stop for that. Here, let's just imagine the way you usually do when you're reading your own native language. Let's say you're reading a book, you're reading a literature book, or you're watching a movie or a TV series. You do not stop to consider every single word, right? So you just get the meaning from the context, you get the meaning from the other words that help you. In real life, we get the meaning from the facial language or the body language of people we're talking to. So we do not always need to know every single word. The same applies here in TOEFL. You do not bring outside information. I mentioned this before. Remember, even if you know something that is true because you may have done your thesis on, you read 10 books on the topic, you still do not bring the outside information. It doesn't exist. Only the information in text exists. And if you do decide to read first, let's say this is not the recommended strategy, but if you do decide to do it because you're a fast reader, because you like to read, maybe you feel more confident and you don't have a lot of time to practice another strategy, try not to take too much time reading. Okay, so let's say you do read, you don't want to treat it as a textbook from school. You don't want to study it. You're not studying the text because you don't have to understand the whole text. Okay, we're not studying, we're just scanning the way we scan a magazine at an airport. And finally, you do not leave an answer question. It's better to go wrong than to go blank. Okay, so you have to focus on answering every single question. This is a skill. Okay, like we usually don't have the skill because in real life we don't like to be wrong, and actually in certain situations it's better to to not say anything than to be wrong. I don't know what your context is, but you definitely know this, like in a family context, in a relationship context, at work. Maybe it's better to not say anything than to say the wrong thing. But here in the reading section of the TOEFL, you definitely prefer to say something wrong or to mark a wrong alternative than to leave it blank. This is very extremely important. Okay, we don't want to leave any answer blank. Okay, now as to the strategy, what is the strategy we're going to use for the reading section? We are going to read the question first. Okay, we're going to read the question first. We're going to make sure what type of question it is. Again, we're going to see the question types in following videos. We're going to see what type of question is, and then we're going to look for keywords in that question, and then we're going to go to the specific part of the text that contains those keywords, and then we're going to go back to the question and use process elimination to get the right answer. Again, each individual question, we're going to see each individual question in some video. So this is just an overview of how to apply this strategy. Now, process of elimination, also called PO, means when you don't know the answer in an affirmative way, means you just read the question, you got the question type, you look for keyword, you go to the text, and you still don't know the answer. We're going to use process of elimination, which means we're going to eliminate all the alternatives that are not the right answer. Now, how do we do this? Because we're going to use the common reasons an alternative is not the right answer. So a common reason is having the wrong word. Now, having the wrong word, having an extreme word, having an opposite information, being out of scope, or being true but not my answer, they are all reasons to eliminate an alternative. And we're going to see them one by one. This is something that is important to you. You're going to use this throughout all the reading section and some part of the listening section too. So it's better that you copy. Now, wrong word. The wrong word can be just singular versus plural. Let's say the text says birds, okay, and the alternative says bird. So if this is singular, this is plural and this is singular, that's not my alternative. Maybe it's using the wrong adjective. Maybe the text is saying wildcat and the alternative is just saying cat. That's not my answer. Maybe using the wrong verb. Maybe the text is saying that the cat ran and the alternative is saying that the cat walked. That's not my answer. Okay, so just being one word wrong, just having one word that is not the word that is used in the text will mean that the whole alternative is wrong. Now, extreme words. In general, we avoid extreme words. Words like obviously extreme, like all, none, everything, everyone, nobody, never, always, etc. They are all obviously extreme words. There are other words that don't look like they are extremes, but they are, like superlatives. So I say the most, the least, the best, the greatest. So I say the most famous person on earth. That's an extreme word. And hidden extremes, for example, saying the only or no person. Again, these are expressions that we usually don't consider to be extreme, but they are. So in general, we avoid extreme words, okay? Now, what is the exception? There is definitely an exception. What is the exception? The exception is that the text uses them. So if the text says the most, the best, or nobody, no one, etc., we are going to use them. Again, that is the exception. In general, we avoid extreme words unless the text uses them. Okay, the third reason to eliminate an alternative is having the opposite information. I know this sounds silly. How on earth will I mark an alternative that says the opposite of what the text is saying? But believe me, it will happen. Okay, so basically, the most straightforward case in which the alternative says literally the opposite. So the alternative says the birds don't fly, and the text says birds do fly, so that's literally the opposite. But most commonly it's going to be a hidden opposite. For example, the text is going to say something like it is not uncommon, so they're mixing two negatives, and it's going to create a little bit of confusion because you may only focus on the word uncommon, or you may only focus on the word not, and you may think it says it's not common, well, while it is actually saying it's not uncommon. Or never stopped being unusual, which again is not redundant, but we have a lot of negatives, right? We had the never, which implies a negative thing. We have a stop, which implies a negative thing, and unusual, which also implies a negative. So be very careful of the alternative not saying the opposite of what the text is saying. Okay, the fourth reason is being out of scope. This is basically just saying that the information is not in the text. That's it. So if the text is not saying anything about the specific alternative, that's it. That's not my answer. The fifth reason is being true but not my answer. This is very important because the information will be in the text. Okay, the information is in the text, it's just not answering the specific question. And this is again why we care so much about being specific. So let's say I ask you the time and you say today is Sunday, and yes, today is Sunday, but that's not my question, is it? I just ask for the time. So even if what you say is true, it has to also be the right answer for the specific question. Another case of this is when it gives an incomplete answer to the question. Again, maybe I ask for the specific time and you say it's between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m., which is true because maybe it's 2 p.m., but you're not telling me exactly what the time is. Again, so you want to be specific. You want to answer the specific question. Okay, now we're going to see the question type. This is just an overview. We're going to see each of these question types in individual videos. Now, some people lump question types together. For example, factual and negative factual are just one big question type that we're going to separate into two just for the sake of order. Vocabulary is its own question type. Inference is its own question type. Purpose, method, and opinion are also lumped together. Reference and inference inference and purpose are sometimes mixed together. I don't like to do that because I think they follow different strategies. Summary and charts are also lumped together because they kind of follow the same strategy, although I like to separate them because there are small differences that you're going to see and you're going to have to apply. Again, the whole deal about the reading section is learning the question types. Okay, so my advice for you is just learn the question types, practice in each individual question type, and when you're performing the exam, just focus on which question type you're dealing with so you can solve it. Okay, that will be it for this video. You can visit my webpage for more information and material. Okay, bye.